By the next day, it finally seemed like I was turning the corner. My stomach was still queasy, and I didn't dare to swallow more than a few bites of toast at a time. But I could keep it down, and the smell of food no longer filled me with revulsion. I had even showered and changed into something that didn't faintly smell of vomit. Most of all, though, I slept. The day flew by as if I were trapped in a fever dream of lengthy naps broken apart only by brief periods of lucidness. V was there, continuing to bring me water whenever my glass was empty. So too was that persistent sense of needing something I couldn't wrap my head around. In the evening, I had finally risen from the couch and had managed another small accomplishment. It was an embarrassing one, but still, it was something that made me feel a little more human. I'd actually chuckled to myself in giddy delight as I sat on the toilet and evacuated my bowels. There was little that came out, but I didn't care. It was far better than the direction my food had been traveling over the last few days. When I emerged from the bathroom with a grin on my face, V eyed me suspiciously. "What's got you so happy?" My cheeks burned even as my grin grew. She must have thought that I'd snuck something in, perhaps one of those little bottles of booze they sold at the store, or even a bag of dust I'd hidden away somewhere. "What?" V pressed, a smile starting to tug at her own lips. I shit." We both burst into laughter. "Stop making me laugh," I shouted, clutching my stomach. I'm still feeling a little bit like crap. V's face turned an even deeper shade of red than my own, nearly matching the ribbed top she wore. She pointed at the door behind me. "Feeling a bit like crap, huh? Do you need to go back in there for a while? Can get you a scream sheet if you feel like squeezing another one out." "Jesus, you're gross." "Me? I'm not the one bragging about taking a dump." "V," I sighed, trying to calm myself. "Seriously, you gotta stop. My stomach is still pretty cramped up. It actually hurts to laugh right now." V nodded, though I spotted a dangerous glint in her eye and knew she wasn't through with me yet. "Yeah, sure, Jude. But if you ask me, I think you're full of shit." It was crazy. We were standing in our kitchen, laughing our asses off over the fact that I had taken a shit. But the tension that had filled our apartment over the last few days was finally slipping away. It felt similar to the euphoria I'd get whenever I threw back a tall glass after a long shift. It would be short-lived, though. Just like when I escaped into the bottle, all my problems were still waiting for me. At least I felt better prepared to face them than I had last night when I'd allowed my worst fears to run rampant, even entertaining the horrific possibility of twins or even triplets. A long day of dreamless sleep had helped me tremendously. I'd driven away my panic at the prospect of being pregnant and could think rationally about what to do. I needed to get my hands on a test, and the earliest I could do that would be the day after tomorrow, assuming I didn't have any setbacks. Whenever I felt my anxiety starting to spike, I would take a deep breath and tell myself to slow down. I was likely freaking out over nothing. If the test came back negative, then that would easily settle things. But if it happened to come back positive, what would I do then? Keeping it was out of the question. I wasn't even capable of taking care of myself, much less an infant who I would undoubtedly end up subjecting to a lifetime of damage and trauma on par with my own. Carrying it to term and putting it up for adoption wasn't an option either. I'd heard horror stories about the overcrowded orphanages and adoption clinics that were nothing more than exporters of soon-to-be assault victims. But the real reason behind my adamant refusal to even consider either option was much simpler. V. The house of cards I'd built around us would finally collapse. I would be forced to tell her everything, and like a long row of dominoes, one lie would tumble into the next, seemingly without end. I still didn't know how to feel about how I felt, Beyond the shame of carrying a rape baby and all the destruction it would bring to my life, there was still a glimmer of something that wasn't entirely bad. Was it some maternal instinct programmed into my brain like a piece of cyberware? Or maybe there was still some sliver of the old Judy Álvarez inside of me who, not so long ago, had made it her life's mission to help others. There was no point in worrying about it now. I was here, trapped in our apartment for at least one more day. And for the time being, I didn't feel too bad about that. Not bad at all. Since V was using me to test out every kind of excrement-related humor she could think of, I started towards the couch. Her hand latched onto my arm, stopping me. V was still flushed, but I could see she was trying to compose herself. Hey, I hope you know I'm just giving you... Her hand suddenly clasped over her mouth, stopping herself mid-sentence. She'd seen the glare in my eye. I'm sorry, she exclaimed. I swear that wasn't intentional. I'll forgive you. This time. Whew, that's good, 'cause I wanted to tell you something. V gestured toward the kitchen, and seeing how serious she had quickly turned, I nervously sat down. I was surprised when, instead of sitting next to me, she leaned against the counter. It was something my abuelo had done whenever I was about to be on the receiving end of one of his lectures. Was that what this would be? What is it? A warm smile spread across her face. I wanted to tell you how fucking proud I am of you. V, no, you're gonna let me say this, because I think you need to hear it. It's important. I am proud of you, Judy, she declared. No ifs, ands, or buts. I didn't know what to say. There wasn't any hint of sarcasm in her voice, even if there should have been. Proud of me? Why? My mind wandered back to the conversation we'd had at the hospital. It had been so easy to give her a peek behind the curtain of what was raging inside of me. She had said she wouldn't break. Was that true? I shook my head. What are you proud of, V? I drained our eddies and bled us dry on some stupid idea of mine while you were out there getting shot at. No, let me finish. I got someone killed. Roxanne trusted me, and her skull is rotten somewhere in clouds because of that. Katie's a slave. I wrecked my van, lost my fucking job, which is just gonna put more pressure on you, and I nearly managed to kill myself. If you're proud of all that... Sure enough, it had been so easy to vent all of that off, and just like before, I had needed to stop myself before I went too far. V didn't seem to be the least bit dissuaded. In fact, I saw something flash behind her eyes as they filled with sympathy. Why do you do this to yourself? I blinked. Do what? Lie to yourself. Why do you do it? Not lying, V. Everything I said was true. You've been there and seen it all, not something to be proud of. Why did she look so wounded? Couldn't she understand I had just been honest with her? That her pride in me was as misplaced as her love? I stood back up and wandered toward the couch in hopes she wouldn't follow. But I should have known better, as the couch sank next to me as soon as I sat down. She was determined not to let me escape. Do you know how many fucking addicts I see out on those streets every day? V pointed toward the window. I know, V. No, you don't. They're everywhere. Whether it's dust, booze, eddies, sex, power, whatever it is, everyone's addicted to something. But most of them don't see it. Not until it's too late anyway. I don't think that's you. V, I appreciate you saying that. I really do. But you don't need to. It wasn't like I had some big epiphany or anything like that. V huffed in frustration. But you know you have a problem, right? Yeah, I stammered, unsure of what she was getting at. I mean, I know I was out of control that night. That's right. You know you went too far. And what did you do about that? You puked your fucking guts out for days, didn't sleep, laid on the floor of our nasty bathroom, and still, I feel loved, Judy. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I didn't know what she was trying to say. I was detoxing because I didn't have any choice, like everything else in my life. V drew her head back, almost in revulsion. You really don't understand, do you? I think you're trying to say you love me? I'm sorry, V. I don't know what you're getting at. V spoke slowly, deliberately, enunciating every syllable, which was something she rarely did. I am saying that I love you for knowing you had a problem, that I am proud of you for doing all of this to solve it, and that I will be here for you when you are ready to listen to what you have to say. You can trust me. My pulse suddenly began to race, and I quickly looked away. I knew that would only further fuel her suspicions, but I'd been unable to control it. I had to accept she was far more perceptive than I realized. Over the last year, her awareness of things had been dulled by the fogginess of her addiction. But as sickening of an admission as it was, I couldn't deny reality. I had been grateful for it. Grateful her head was buried in the sand so I could live the lie my entire life had become. She couldn't handle it. Yes, she was strong on the outside, but I'd gotten a glimpse of how fragile she was beneath the surface. All it would take was a few words, the ones that kept finding their way to the tip of my tongue when I least expected them to shatter her into a million pieces. I wouldn't be able to help her piece them back together then. I couldn't do it. I was simply too weak. Something touched my cheek and I jerked away. No, don't fucking touch me. My eyes widened. It was V, not them, just V. Her hand was frozen in midair, eyes wide with shock at my reaction. I too was also paralyzed. We stayed that way, locked in an unwavering stare that grew more awful with each passing second, until her face finally hardened. What happened to you? V asked sternly. You have to tell me. Nothing happened. Don't know what you're talking. Cut the bullshit, V shouted. I know you, and this ain't you. Something happened, and I don't know what it is because you won't tell me, but I'm fucking scared shitless about you. Why won't you just tell me? She was almost on the verge of tears, practically begging me to open up to her. But that touch on my cheek had triggered something deep inside of me. I stiffened, feeling myself turning cold even as I struggled to breathe. She's too close. Push her away. Do it now, Judy. My lips curled back into a snarl as my eyes narrowed. What happened is you lied to me for over a fucking year and hid your shit while I tried to figure out what was going on. All of this is your fault. The irony of what I'd spat at her wasn't lost on me, but everything I had said was true. Every last word. If I hadn't had so much on my mind back then, chasing after my dreams while lifting V out of her own stupor, maybe I would have thought things through better. Maybe I would have seen them waiting for me in the garage or noticed something that would have clued me in and stopped this from happening. It was her fault. I stared back at her, certain my words would have been enough to push her away, but the pair of sapphires staring back at me hadn't dimmed. If anything, they were more piercing than ever before. Tell me what happened to you. I shook my head and rose off the couch. You said you believed me back at the hospital. Guess you were just full of shit then, weren't you? I did say that. Just like I asked you if there was some reason I shouldn't have. I didn't want to push you away like you're trying to do to me now, but I'm not the only one who's full of shit here. But I don't care what you said, or what I said, or what any of us said. I care about what you need to say now. You're hurting me, Judy. You're scaring me, and you need to say it out loud. I opened my mouth to protest how wrong she was and how much she was overreacting, but nothing would come out. Not the truth, not any more lies, nothing. V stood and crossed her arms. If you need time, I'll give you time. And if it's space, you'll have that too. But if you love me at all, and I still believe you do, no matter how much you try to hurt me, you'll let me in. Whatever it is, I'll always love you. You can't keep running away from this. My silence was all the affirmation V needed. She turned and went to the bedroom, leaving the door open as she changed and climbed into bed. I remained seated on the couch with my head in my hands, trying to sort the mess my thoughts had become. Why was she backing me into a corner? Was it because I'd truly become that transparent? That obvious?
Because I can't do this anymore. I told you I didn't want to do that, and you made me do it anyway. I'm sorry, Judy. Please, I thought you'd like it. Please don't go. I'll change, I fucking swear. I fucking have to leave, Cindy. How much more fucked up do you want me to be for you? Look at me, for fuck's sake. Everyone out there knows what I am. I don't want you to go. Please, Judy, don't leave me alone. I can't make it without you, and I can't make it with you. If I don't do this now, I'm never gonna get out of here. It's the only way to keep myself from ending up like you. You've got nowhere else to go, Judy. I do have somewhere to go. You remember Alejandro, guy who used to live next to Jenny's house? He's got a place with a few others from Laguna Bend. Said he wants to help that old fuck? Oh, he's gonna help you, alright. Help you sit on his cock and fuck you over and over again. Of course you'd like that, wouldn't you? You're such a fucking little liar, telling me you didn't like it. Why do you gotta talk like that? My abuelo asked him to help me. Is that what he told you? Your grandfather asked him to help you? Jesus, if you honestly believe that old fuck, then you're even dumber than I thought. I talked to my abuelo yesterday. He told me he asked him to help. You did? That's right. First time I've spoken to him in over a year, no thanks to you. He asked Alejandro to help me out, just like he said. Unless you're gonna say that my abuelo's in on the whole thing and wants me to get fucked just as much as you do. Hello? Judy, I'm sorry. Please don't go. I'll change. I have to go, Cindy. And you ought to think about doing something yourself before you end up behind bars or dead in an alley. As over as we are, as much as I hate you, still don't want to see you get hurt. I still care. Fuck you. You don't give a shit about me and never did. I fucking loved you. Well, I never loved you. How the fuck could I, stupid cunt? Go on and move it with that old piece of shit. See if I care. See if you're not spread out on his bed in a few days with this wrinkly cock up your ass. See if... Bye. Judy? Judy, please.
The walls were closing in around me, and it was getting harder to see the path ahead. The test. It was the only tangible thing I could focus upon, and it was binary. Positive or negative. No middle ground. She had left the door open on purpose, an obvious invitation now that I was finally starting to feel better and wanted to sink into that mattress. But if I did, the truth would spill out of me, and neither of us would find any rest. With a sigh, I stretched out across the couch. This was for the best. I was tired and needed some time to think. The urge to tell V everything, to throw in the fucking towel and be done with it all, was overwhelming. And in the back of my mind, a part of me was starting to believe she might be strong enough to endure it. But I needed to know what to tell her first. Was the horror of it all truly over? Or would I be asking her to commit the rest of her life to looking into the face of a child that, while innocent of the crimes committed against her mother, would be an enduring reminder of it all? I needed to know.